All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to the full story on WYAB 103.9 on this Monday as we start the week. And it has been quite the weekend for us here in the country, as there have been a lot of movements as regards to illegal immigrants. That's going to be our main story for today that we're going to talk about. So we're going to talk about the movements that are being made of getting these people out of here, just like Trump had promised. And as we talked about last week, Trump has been he hasn't taken a day off since becoming president and to fulfill his promises. So we're going to talk about what exactly is going on with that, especially down in Colombia, who initially refused to have any of those migrants come down there, or illegal immigrants. I never know what we're calling it. It's like the term has always changed over the last few years, right? It went from illegal immigrants to migrants. I don't know. Illegal immigrants is exactly what they are. Illegal aliens is the legal term, so maybe we'll use that. Illegal aliens. To get those down there, initially refused it. Then Trump showed them what's up, and then they reversed their mind after he threatened heavy tariffs. We're going to talk about that story first off. We're also going to talk about other movements that he is making as far as getting these illegal immigrants out there. AOC made some very interesting comments at age like fine milk in regards to that, as well as the other plans for ICE and what's going on with us moving these immigrants out, with illegal aliens out, with military aircraft, and how Mexico is handling it, how Mexico is responding to it, and how they may change their response to it after seeing what's going on with Colombia. We'll also talk about another one of Trump's promises that he is fulfilling this week, which is reinstating American service members who are illegally and wrongfully kicked out for refusing the COVID vaccine. We're going to talk a little. We went to that in detail last week when he announced it, but now he is following through with that promise, and it's part of his rebuilding of the army, or the rebuilding of the military, I should say, not just the army. As a from Army perfect, I got to realize there's other services beside the Army. But really, it's more Trump rebuilding America, as I talked about, rebuilding common sense, bringing common sense back into the country. So we have quite a story of all of those. It's quite amazing when a president actually stands up to something. We've had a president the last 4 years that has just rolled over when anybody has any kind of pushback. And finally, we have a president. Nope, I'm America. We have the stronger bargaining power. This is how it's going to be. And if you don't follow it, there are going to be repercussions. And it's amazing what people will do when they realize, yep, America does have the upper hand in this regard, in the negotiation part of this. So it's very interesting how to see how that actually works when you have someone who understands negotiation, and to say, nope, you're the one who has to bend, not us. We are the ones who have the upper hand in this negotiation. That's how negotiations work. You got to understand the what side you're on, what your strengths are, and like I said, the last few years, it's just been rolling over. It's all it's been the last few years has just been rollover, and that has definitely changed already in less than, well, now I guess we're just at now 1 week, 7 days after the inauguration. Think how much stuff has happened in just the last 7 days. It's been absolutely crazy. If we have any time at the end, we'll talk about the upcoming hearings this week for confirmation hearings for Trump's cabinet. RFK Jr. is pretty much the big one this week. So if we have time for that at the end, we'll discuss that. And of course, we'll end with our This Day in History. And today's a pretty big one for history as far as history is concerned, as far as commemoration. So we'll cover that at the very end of the show. If you want to call in at any time during the show or during the break, the number is 601-879-0002. But keep it tuned here to The Full Story, also on Rumble and YouTube as well. If you want to see it, the video live, you can see it there as well. But otherwise, keep it tuned here to WYAB 103.9. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to the full story on WYAB 103.9 as we get to our main story this morning. And it's one of A1, just one, or A, you pick, of fulfilling campaign promises, which is getting illegal immigrants out of this country, but two, showing what strength means to have back in the office of the presidency. So Colombian President Gustavo Petro swiftly backtracked on his refusal to accept deportation flights from the United States after President Donald Trump threatened tariffs and other measures. The White House confirmed yesterday, on Sunday, that Colombia's president had caved to all of President Trump's terms, including the unrestricted acceptance of all illegal aliens from Colombia returned from the United States, including on U.S. military aircraft without limitations on or delay. The statement said, based on this agreement, the fully drafted IEEPA tariffs and sanctions will be held in reserve and not signed unless Colombia fails to honor this agreement. The visa sanctions issued by the State Department and enhanced inspections from Customs and Border Protection will remain in effect until the first plane load of Colombian deportees is successfully returned. And what that's talking about is the U.S. Customs and Border Protection acted with swiftness to implement Trump's orders. So essentially, what they were going to do, in addition to the 25% tariff, was they're going to have enhanced inspections of flights, private aircraft, and cargo to or from Colombia, which is going to slow down their trade. 2, denying boarding to flagged visa holders. So if you're a visa holder from Colombia, you ain't getting here. And 3, enforcing a travel ban on Colombian officials with DOS, Department of State coordination. So eventually, we're going to put you back into the dark ages. We're going to shut you off from all of the United States, which is a pretty big deal for them. And so, especially with their communist government, they rely on America in our trade. And so we'll say, hey, we're going to send you back to the dark ages and through trade. Again, not through bullets, not through military threats, through economic sanctions or tariffs. It's a tariff sanction, kind of one and the same. Not exactly one and the same, but similar result. And he didn't have to get violent at all. So that was what was promised, and that's what made them quickly reverse. The statement from the White House said, today's events make clear to the world that America is respected again. President Trump will continue to fiercely protect our nation's sovereignty and expects all other nations of the world to fully cooperate in accepting the deportation of their citizens illegally present in the United States. So like I said, earlier in the day, Sunday, Gustavo appeared to fold almost immediately after Trump threatened to punish the country for refusing deportation flights. Gustavo even offered his own presidential plane to repatriate migrants coming back from the U.S. So from not allowing us to do it to offering up his own aircraft to do it instead. Trump told Fox News that Petro did a total about-face after his tariff threat. In a statement translated from Spanish, the Colombian government said the plane will help facilitate a dignified return. The translated statement read, the government of Colombia, under the direction of President Gustavo Petro, has arranged a presidential plane to facilitate the dignified return of the compatriots who were going to arrive in the country today in the morning coming from deportation flights. This measure responds to the government's commitment to guarantee decent conditions. So taking back their people. So this weekend, American officials sent 2 flights of Colombian illegal aliens as part of Trump's ongoing deportation program. Petro rejected the flights, writing that the U.S. cannot treat Colombian migrants as criminals, is what he said. He said, I deny the entry of American planes carrying Colombian migrants into our territory. The United States must establish a protocol for the dignified treatment of migrants before we receive them. It's like, what? They're your people, right? You take them back. There's no, if you, like I said, if you want them to come on better flights and you provide the flights, which is what they're doing. It's like, okay, fine. But we have a lot of them. So if your flights can't take it, you're still getting a military aircraft. So you figure it out, Colombia. But either way, they're coming back. You can't stop it. or you can stop it, but there's going to be repercussions. Um, and so, in response, talking about those repercussions, Trump threatened to unleash a slew of punishments, including ordering a 25% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. from Colombia. And then he threatened that the tariffs would rise to 50% after 1 week. So this week is 25%. Next week it's going to be 50%. And you better not make me angry. We're going to get even higher. The president also ordered a travel ban and visa revocations for all Colombian government officials, plus allies and supporters, which we just mentioned. And Trump warned that, quote, "These measures are just the beginning. We will not allow the Colombian government to violate its legal obligations with regard to the acceptance and return of the criminals they forced into the United States. I was just informed that 2 repatriation flights from the United States with a large number of illegal criminals were not allowed to land in Colombia. The order was given by Colombia's socialist president Gustavo Petro. He was already very unpopular amongst his people. President Pedro's denial of these flights has jeopardized the national security and public safety of the United States, so I have directed my administration to immediately take the following urgent and decisive retaliatory measures." He's even called them retaliatory, right? He's not even hiding the facts. Like, nope, this is retaliation, because if you don't do it, we're going to retaliate, right? It's not even hiding the fault. Everybody's always afraid of the word retaliate. Ooh, that's a bad word, retaliate, right? We don't want to retaliate against anybody. That's bad. Nope. Trump's like, nope, we're going to retaliate. We're going to retaliate hard. You do it, or you either follow what we're going to do or face the repercussions. And yes, it is in fact retaliation. As Clay over says, what is he, FAFO, right? F around and find out, right? That's what Clay likes to say. That's pretty much what Trump was putting out there. Because again, it's real simple. There will be repercussions to your actions. You can have choices. There's always choices to be made, but we're going to make the choice real easy for you. Otherwise, things are going to get quite hard. And so like I said, so that was all quickly happening. This is all happening pretty quickly, right? Again, President Trump's only been president for a week. Don't forget that, right? 7 days he has been president, and this is already how much movement we have had with Donald Trump. So on Sunday afternoon, Pedro then issued a similar threat to Trump, saying that he ordered his foreign trade minister to raise tariffs or imports from the U.S. by 25%. He said the ministry should help direct our exports to the whole world other than the U.S. Our exports should be expanded, which, again, can be pretty hard. And later, Petro published a lengthy rant where he raised the tariffs to 50%. He said, "I am informed that you impose a 50% on the fruits of our human labor to enter the United States, and I do the same." And that didn't really work out so well for him, did it? Because, again, who has the bigger bargaining power? But I don't like to talk about AOC very often because she's an idiot, and she just likes to say things to get to cause problems and to stir the pot. She doesn't actually get anything done. So I don't usually like to cover her things, but this one is just great. So I have to do it. So AOC, the Democrat from New York, first weighed in on President Trump's ongoing tariff feud with Colombian President Gustavo Petro. And so in an X post on Sunday, AOC insisted that American consumers are the only party that pay tariffs. She said, to punish Colombia, Trump is about to make every American pay even more for the coffee, or for coffee. So I guess that's the only thing that she knows that we get from Colombia. And she says, "Remember, we pay the tariffs, not Colombia. Trump is all about making inflation worse for working class Americans, not better," she added. "He's lining the pockets of himself and the billionaire class." Again, I don't know what that means or how that computes, but that's what she said. And Pedro, the communist president there, appeared to be a fan of AOC's post, reposting it on his own X account, which should be a warning right there, right? If you're an American congressman and you are, and you have foreign presidents liking your posts, and not your own president, and they're sharing your own thing, that should be a red flag, I think. That's not a great look. A, from a national security perspective, or B, just from a political perspective, it's like, wait a minute, you're going to fight the president and then have a different president who is a communist who has horrible human rights abuses, you are going, and again, not liked by his own people, but it's communist, so they have to deal with it. That person's gonna like your post. That's a red flag if you ask me. But her tweet racked over 47,000 likes from supporters. But it aged like fine milk, right? Because less than an hour, I think it was like 45 minutes later, is when the Colombian president reversed track and said, "No, what? Never mind. We'll take him. Sorry, we'll take him." Which also makes me wonder, right? If he's liking AOC's post at, if he's liking AOC's post or sharing it or whatever he did, and if it's X, it's still called tweets. I don't know. But or X post maybe, which sounds like a post office, but that's neither here nor there. But if he's liking her post on X, and then he reposts it or retweets it or what have you, and then an hour or so later he reverses course, that tells me a couple things. One, either A, he's not running his own social media account, and someone in his thing is reposting it, and they didn't. There was not a whole lot of communication between the PR team and the actual what's going on. So someone reposted it, and something else is in the movement. Or two, that he actually did not want to do it, but his hand was heavily forced. That he really wanted to put tariffs on Trump. It's like, oh, I'm going to like this. I'm going to repost this thing from this American to show that I'm standing in line with one of these Americans. But then his own people were like, look, Mr. President, you're all powerful, all knowing, what have you. We bow to thee. But this is going to hurt us. We may have riots in the street. So I'm just saying you might want to reconsider because, it may not work like you think it does. And so he had to immediately reverse course very, very soon thereafter, which shows he really did not want to do this, but his hand was forced, and it was forced hard by Donald Trump. And that's exactly what people voted for coming in. They voted for someone who is going to stand up for that, who is not going to back down, and is going to continue to show other countries that, no, we are the United States of America. We hold the bargaining power in this world. We are the strongest country in the world. And that doesn't mean we can just go around and just get everything we want, right? We have to work with other countries, don't get me wrong. But there are certain things that are going to be immovable. That's going to be non-negotiable. And you have to draw that line. You have to draw the line with people to say, this is the non-negotiable set, and we have the negotiation power here. And if you don't want to deal with that, then repercussions will be had, and retaliation will be had. Very simple. Add that with the fact that Trump is building up the United States military. It's going to take some time for that, unfortunately, because they have really hurt that side of things. But he's rebuilding that, right? So he has a powerful military standing behind him. And again, you don't have to use the military. People just have to know that you have one, and you have a powerful one, and you have a strong one. That's all they need to know, right? We don't have to use it. We just have to make sure they understand that when we talk with authority. We talk with the authority to say, we're not just talking out of our butts, for lack of a better word, right? We have the power to back that up. We have the power not only militarily, but probably even more importantly, economically, because of how much we buy, how much we affect the world economy, right? We can affect that. And so we can force people's hands to better the United States, especially, again, when it's not even that much, right? We're not asking for a whole lot here. It's just take your people back. That's not even that hard, right? Just take them back. They shouldn't be here to begin with. The last administration just let them in, which was wrong, but we're sending them back to you, right? These are your people. It's like you said, it's people act like it's such a big ask that Donald Trump. No, it is a very, very simple ask that he had, right? Just take your people back. Bottom line, end of story. There's your period, right? Very, very simple. Not much to it. It's not like we're asking them to pay us because of it or trying to extract stuff from them or get anything from them. We don't want anything from them. We're just having them take back their own people, right? They belong to you. You will take them back. Bottom line, we'll even fly them back to you, right? We have great C-17s that will fly them straight to your front door, delivery courtesy of Donald Trump. And speaking of that, and moving on with this same thing, Mexico is reportedly also refusing U.S. military flights deporting migrants. So Mexico refused a request from President Donald Trump's administration to allow a U.S. military aircraft deporting migrants to land in the country, according to U.S. and Mexican officials. So on Friday, 2 U.S. military flights and a commercial chartered flight transported about 80 migrants each to Guatemala. But the plan to have a C-17 transport aircraft land in Mexico did not move ahead after the country denied permission. In a statement on Friday, Mexico's foreign ministry, said it had a, quote, very great relationship with the U.S. and cooperated on issues such as immigration. It said, when it comes to repatriations, we will always accept the arrival of Mexicans to our territory with open arms. So not really a reason for why the denial of that C-17. Maybe it was because they didn't have Mexican citizens on there. They didn't want a bunch of, say it was Guatemalans, for instance. We sent a plane to Guatemala and they said, hey, we don't want a bunch of Guatemalans landing on our thing and them escaping. I don't know. But it's interesting that they would refuse an aircraft. And after seeing what happens to Colombia, whether that's going to change or make people think, hey, Trump is not messing around. That's a statement to all other countries that are out there is that, look, we're not here to be mean or anything like that. We're just going to be very, very explicit. This is how things are going to run from now on. America cares about America, right? We don't care about you. Right? We don't care about your own citizens. We care about America and American citizens and their own safety. And their safety for the last 4 years has been threatened. And unfortunately, people like Lincoln Riley have been taken victim to these illegal aliens. And we're done. The American people are done. They're tired of it. They've seen the craziness that's happened. Not just in illegal immigration, but all these asylum seekers that President Biden said that he was repatriating, right, that have just loaded up places, 20, 30,000, one small city, if you remember, in Indiana. Or is it Ohio? I can't remember. One of the two, one of those little states up there. Not little. They're big. They're not little states, but states in the Midwest. And so the people, they were at their breaking point, and that's why Donald Trump was elected. And Donald Trump, just like his first term, he has shown that he will, in fact, follow through with his campaign promises. And another one of those is the Remain in Mexico program, which forces asylum seekers who want to get in through the southern border. You're not coming in here to then process your asylum packets. You're going to either stay in Mexico where you came up from, or you can go back to your home country and wait for it there. But what we're not doing is allowing the asylum seekers to come into the country from the southern border and let them essentially roam the country free until their asylum packets get processed. And honestly, if you're seeking asylum, it should be very, very rare. Right. I'm not saying we don't need that. We need to have sometimes places for asylum seekers. Right. Today on This Day in History, we're gonna talk about the Holocaust and things like that. That's an example of people who needed to seek asylum because they're literally being massacred by their own government. Right. That was a Holocaust. Right. So anything less than that, honestly, there should be very few exceptions. To especially mass asylum seeking, right? To the extent that they have been doing it. Just because your country is run by dangerous people or there are drug cartels that are running it, that doesn't mean you get to come up here, right? I get it, but you know what? That's your country. You fight for it. I'm sorry you live in a bad country, but you're not coming here. Not under asylum purposes, right? There are other visas you can try to get. I'm not saying you can't come to this country. You absolutely can, but it's not going to be under asylum because that's not going to meet the definition of asylum, right? The government has to be going after you for who you are, right? And you just being in a dangerous country, which newsflash, is almost all of Central America. If that was the case, then every single citizen in Central America could come into the United States. So the bar for asylum seeking has to be set just a little bit higher. Um, so uh, it is so Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, who is relatively new, said that such a move, the Remain in Mexico policy, would require the country receiving the asylum seekers to agree, but Mexico had not done so. It's like, okay, you don't have to agree, Mexico either, right? It's real simple. If you don't want them, you can send them back, right? If they want to come, if you allow them in your country, they are your problem. But we're not allowing them into our country, right? So if they come up there and they want to seek asylum in the United States, you can keep them there while they do it, or you can send them back. You can send them back too. You can do that in Mexico, right? There's no one forcing you to hold them there in Mexico. Donald Trump is not forcing you to hold them there in Mexico. He's just saying we're not going to allow them up here. Um, if you want them, if you don't want them there, then return them, right? Or send them back down to the country below you, right? Let's just keep sending them back down until they get back to their home country, right? That's all there is. Again, common sense. It's just common sense returns. No one's forcing you to do it. Just you send them back as well. Um, so the Pentagon has said the U.S. military would provide flights to deport more than 5,000 immigrants held by illegal aliens, I should say, held by U.S. authorities in El Paso, Texas, and San Diego, California. So again, I'm so glad that we're using the military for a function domestically, right? That we're not just using our planes to fight foreign wars. We're using our planes to actively help the United States of America and help our citizens, which is shipping these people back off. Okay, we're going to take our first break right here. When we get back, I want to talk some more about what ICE is doing, as well as I want to get into Trump following his promises to service members illegally and wrongfully terminated for the COVID shot. If you want to call in during the break, number 601-879-0002, but keep it tuned to the full story on WYAB 103.9. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to the full story on WIB 103.9 as we continue on talking about illegal immigration, the crackdown of illegal immigration. And that's the next thing I want to talk about is what ICE is doing, as ICE has arrested nearly 1,000 illegal immigrants by Trump's sixth day in office. So Immigration and Custom Enforcement, ICE, made nearly 1,000 arrests on Sunday, with lots of activity taking place in the southeastern United States, according to various ICE field offices. This is what I also like, is that the ICE field offices themselves are putting out, this is where we're taking these people down. So you can tell, like, the ICE themselves, the people working in ICE are happy, right? They are enjoying the crap out of this. So the agency said law enforcement officers arrested 956 people and lodged 554 detainers, which means there's probable cause to believe that the person is removable from the United States under federal immigration law. The ICE field office in Miami, Florida, shared the details behind 5 of their illegal alien arrested, 3 in Florida and 2 in Puerto Rico. The Miami field office said on X, ICE protects America by enforcing U.S. immigration laws to preserve national security and public safety. And I really like it. Like I said, I like the fact these field offices are themselves posting, because that's a warning to the illegal immigrants that, hey, we are out there, we are now enforcing this, and we're out there to come get you. Right? So you might want to return back now. Now's your chance to return back to your country, because we're going to be looking for you and we're going to find you. They said the Atlanta field office tweeted, removing criminal aliens from our communities isn't just enforcement, it's protection, ensuring the safety and security of our neighborhoods starts with upholding the law. So again, just another field office putting it out there. New border czar, Tom Homan, our border leader. I think they're embracing the border czar title, which I find is funny. After Kamala Harris being the border czar, so now they're embracing it. But the new border czar, Tom Homan, warned that daily deportation numbers are set to rise in the coming weeks as President Trump's administration begins to expand its operation. Again, they've been in power now exactly 1 week, so they're ramping this up. And in one day, they got 1,000 people, which is, we're talking millions have come through the country. So we got a lot of work to do. While that's great, we have a lot of work to go. We have a lot to catch up on. Holman made his comment during his Sunday appearance on ABC News This Week with host Martha Raddatz. The Board of Chiefs says the administration is currently only targeting violent illegal aliens, but that will soon change as they focus on all illegal immigrants. He says you're going to see the numbers steadily increase, the number of arrests nationwide as we open up the aperture. Right now, it's concentrating on public safety threats and national security threats. That's a smaller population, so we're going to do this on a priority basis. That's President Trump's promise. But as the aperture opens, there'll be more arrests nationwide. So again, and that makes sense, right? You can't get everybody at once. So let's focus on the violent ones, get them out or prosecuted, one or the other. Look at our jails, right? How many illegal immigrants are currently in jail? Get them out. Those are going to be the real easy ones if they're sitting in jail right now, right? Or making sure that they're out as soon as their sentence is up, as well as anybody that gets arrested, and then, of course, you got to make the determination whether you want to prosecute them or not prosecute them. But if you don't prosecute them, it's either should we prosecute and put them in jail for 2 years, or just go ahead and get rid of them. Probably just go ahead and get rid of them. And then 2, once we start getting those violent ones out, the criminals out, then we'll start widening that aperture, starting to collect more of them as time goes on. Because again, there is just so many, meaning hundreds and hundreds of thousands that were coming in from the border under the last 4 years. It's absolutely quite ridiculous. There is a lot of catching up to do, to say the least. But talking about borders and people crossing borders, tens of thousands of Palestinians now are returning back to the northern Gaza as Israel lifts its closure under the truce that was signed just before President Trump was inaugurated. So they streamed into the most heavily destroyed parts of the Gaza Strip on Monday as Israel lifted its closure of the north for the first time since the early weeks of the 15-month war with Hamas in accordance with the ceasefire. Massive crowds of people walking with their belongings stretched along a main road running next to the coast in a stunning reversal of the mass exodus from the north at the start of the war that many Palestinians had feared Israel would make permanent. Israel never was going to make it permanent. Israel has no problem with people returning back to their homes. What they have a problem with is Hamas returning back to Gaza. And to me, that's the biggest worry about this is that, there's some pretty stunning pictures out there of these people returning back. But how many Hamas militants are mixed in with them? How many people are they smuggling back in to then attack Israel again? Because they take advantage of these types of things. It's great that people are going to be able to return back to their homes, whatever's left of it. They probably won't find much of it left after the rubble and the bombings. But it is. I just hope that they're I don't know. I just hope that they're gonna keep an eye on them, because I'm very much worried that Hamas is going to be mixed in with them. They mix in with women and children all the time, and they use them as human shields. And so that this doesn't open it back up, because then these people are gonna have to leave right back again. And maybe now that Donald Trump is there, they understand that the United States is not going to hold back Israel, right? Israel is going to, if they attack again, then that's going to be it, right? There's not going to be no truce. There's not going to be anything until every single one of the rats is exterminated. That's just how it's going to be. So we'll see. They can't seem to help themselves though. And we'll see how long this truce lasts, because again, this is just the first phase of it, and the second and third phase still have to be negotiated. So we'll see how this plays out. But it's going to be it's going to be very very interesting to see how it goes. But they were supposed to actually let the border open this weekend, but Israel said they wouldn't do it until the Palestinians released a female hostage, Arbel Hirud, who was finally released, freed on Saturday, and then they opened the borders up. Honestly, again, I think they should have done it. They said, we're not opening up anything until all of them are released, but it's not my country. So, if that's what they think is the best for them, then more power to them. But it is, it's interesting to see, like I said, how this is going to play out. Something tells me that, it's all going to be reversed, because Hamas cannot help itself. As long as they exist, there are going to be problems. All right, real quick, last thing. We talked at length last week about Trump's campaign promise or during his inauguration, to reinstate U.S. service members who rightfully refused the COVID vaccine, and he will now sign an executive order to do exactly that. He said the executive order directs the Secretary of Defense to reinstate all members of the military, active and reserve, who were discharged for refusing the COVID vaccine and who request to be reinstated. Those reinstated will be restored to their prior rank and will be provided back pay and benefits. The statement said, or a fact sheet said, from 2021 to 2023, the Biden administration and former Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin discharged over 8,000 troops solely due to their COVID-19 vaccination status. After the vaccine mandate was repealed in 2023, only 43 of the more than 8,000 troops dismissed elected to return, which is absolutely crazy to think about. 43 out of 8,000. Why would they return, right? And so I'm so glad for the service members. I represented a lot of them who were wrongfully done this. Most of my people were able to stay on because we were able to devise a strategy to keep them on. But for those who just who didn't want, I know a lot of people who said, I don't want to fight this. I'm tired. The military doesn't want me. Why should I fight it? So they just gave up. Hopefully this motivates them to come back and to rebuild our army, because we need patriots like that back in. We need people who are going to stand up for the right thing. People who aren't just lemmings who just fall off the cliff, right? The people who are going to stand up for what's right. That's the kind of soldier, airman, Marine, Space Force person, whatever they call them. That's the person that we want, right? Airman. Those are the people that we want in our military, and I hope they come back and become leaders in the United States military as we focus on rebuilding it and gaining our strength back and doing domestic operations and protecting our borders, getting illegal immigrants out of here. We need those people back. So this is an exciting time for the United States. All right, we're going to take our last break right here. We'll get back. We'll do This Day in History, but keep it tuned to the full story on WYAB 103.9. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to the full story on WYAB as we get to this day in history. Like most days, it seems now. We won't finish this story here on the air. It will be finished on the stream. You can find it there, as well as on the podcast. You can hear the rest of this. But on this day in history, on January 27th, 1945, the Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp was liberated. So as the Soviet Red Army approached in January 1945, the Nazis attempted to dismantle the camp to hide evidence of their atrocious crimes, where over 1.1 million people were killed at that camp alone. They evacuated approximately 58,000 prisoners on forced death marches towards camps deeper in Germany. However, they left about 7,000 survivors there who were too weak to move. And so on January 27th, 1945, the 322nd Rifle Division of the Soviet Army entered Auschwitz. They encountered horrific sights, including piles of corpses, gas chambers, crematoria, and warehouses filled with personal belongings like shoes, clothing, and human hair, all testifying to the scale of the atrocities. The testimony of the survivors of that is how we ended up finding out about just how bad the Holocaust was and how they were treating those prisoners. And Auschwitz-Birkenau came to symbolize the genocide of the of European Jews, as well as others who were killed there at the concentration camp. And then in 2005, the United Nations designated January 27th as International Holocaust Remembrance Day, marking the liberation of Auschwitz as a day to honor victims and reaffirm a commitment to combating genocide. Okay, that is all we have for you guys today. We'll see you again tomorrow, but until then, my name is Matthew Bishop, and you've heard the full story.